Welcome to the Whiskey After Work podcast. This is where booze meets business. I'm Doug Shaw, owner of Peach State Business Brokers and Advisors.
And I'm Melissa Hergert, owner of Brain Train Centers.
We are serial entrepreneurs that love to learn from other successful professionals and love to drink whiskey. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Douglas.
Welcome to episode 15.
15 already?
Yes.
Sheesh.
Of the Whiskey After Work podcast. Brought to you by
Brain Train Centers.
Keystone Realty Group and Peach State Business Brokers and Advisors. And
Three Strands.
Yes, Three Strands Vineyards again this week.
Yes.
It's
beautiful here.
Can't thank these folks enough for letting us use the facility as
Yeah.
we start to search for our new podcast home since our other one disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get the pleasantries out of the way early.
Yeah.
This should be a pretty tame episode, I would hope.
We're going to be
but
good.
We'll try to behave.
I mean, I'm going to drink wine, so I can't promise. Wine does things to me.
Yeah, this is a wine episode.
This is the end of the episode. Though.
Okay, fine. When I'm off the microphone.
This is a wine episode, and if we say anything that's offensive to you, it's the opinion of the idiot that said it, and not of anybody that's sponsoring us or anybody else on the show. And
Or Three Strands.
especially
That's right.
Three Strands,
Especially
unless
Three
Jason
Strands.
says
We'll be
it.
good. We'll be good. Right.
And so we got that out of the way. Done.
Okay. Done.
So this is a wine episode. We have with us today Jason Summerour. He's the owner of Three Strands Vineyards in Dallas, Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah.
A good friend of Whiskey After Work. He's helped us at some of our charity events and some of
Yeah.
our tastings and things like that. And Jason's a Georgia guy. He grew up in Forsyth County, up in Cumming, Georgia.
Yep.
when
Country
it-
boy.
Yeah, when it was still the country. Now it's all grown up in subdivisions and everything else. And so grew up there. He went to school in the Atlanta area. I think, would you go to Southern Poly?
I did. Yeah, twice.
So twice.
I went to it. The first time it was Southern Tech, and got a mechanical engineering degree, and then I went right back in and got a master's in computer science, and it
Nice.
changed names to Southern
Yeah,
Polytechnic.
they spent $250,000 to hire a firm to come in to
Yep.
rename the place. And
I remember.
it was Southern Tech, and then they changed it to Southern Polytech. And I'm
Right.
like, I'd have done it for $200.
Right.
So I would have done it for
Of 100.
$2,000 as a college student.
So
Seriously.
he's been in the software engineering field for a long time. I think you were with the Weather Channel for a while, weren't you? Yeah. And
I was. Started out at Lockheed, then I went to the Weather Channel, and then they were acquired by IBM, and currently at IBM.
So, and then, that leads to things like getting married and having kids and opening a vineyard.
Exactly.
Because, I mean,
Duh.
what does every software engineer do in his spare time? He learns how to grow
not?
grapes and make wine.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
So, it's Three Strands out here in Dallas, Georgia. So it's an award-winning vineyard. He doesn't fool around.
Nope.
I'm dead serious. I'm very focused. I'm an engineer. I mean, what can I say?
And so with that, I think I'm going to let Jason introduce himself a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, first of all, appreciate having you and Melissa out today, Doug, and glad to share our facilities with you guys. Love what you're doing with this podcast. I love, in general, what you do to raise money for certain causes, and have a lot of respect for you guys for that. So it's always a pleasure to get together in this scenario and with you guys and enjoy wine or a little bit of bourbon from time to time. And so yeah, welcome. You want me to start with kind of how I got into this business?
You talk about whatever you want.
I want to
Okay.
hear that.
All right. So my wife and I went on a date a little over 6 years ago to a wonderful vineyard and winery and tasting room in Bremen, Georgia called Trillium, owned by Bruce and Karen Cross. And really wasn't all that much into wine, just wanted to take my wife to a nice place for a good date.
Good job.
And yeah. And
Take
got to get my
note,
brownie
man.
points where I
Take
can.
note.
Well, and if you ever meet his wife, Erica, it's just like everybody else we've had on the show.
Yeah.
Outkicked his coverage so
Yeah.
far.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
Okay, good job.
Agree 100%. So we had their wines, and I'd had some decent wines in the past, but I really couldn't get over how good they were. And by the end of the evening, I pulled Bruce aside and I said, "Hey," I was like, "You really made these wines from those grapes out there?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I didn't know you could do that in Georgia. Like, I thought it was all California." And so I asked him, I said, "Hey, I've got some property in Dallas and Paulding County, and I'm thinking, now what I want to do with it when I retire, and this may be something that, maybe I could do." I said, "Do you mind if I come back, in a couple of weeks when you have time and just bend your ear and learn a little bit about what it takes, to make it in this industry?" And he says, "Yeah, sure."
Wow.
So I went back and talked with him. He spent 3 hours with me, just dumping his wisdom upon me. And the last question I asked him, I said, "Is there anything that you regret about getting into this industry?" Which I thought was a smart question. And he says, "Yeah, the only thing I regret," and I think he was in his mid-60s at the time, "is not doing it at your age." And I was about 45 at the time, and I was like, "Well, that's a good answer." So my wife Erica and I, with some friends, went out to Napa, spent several days out there, just thoroughly enjoyed it, and just kind of immersed ourselves in everything: the wines, the venues, the food, the people are just fabulous out there. And so we're like, okay, we've got to recreate this back in Paulding County. And that was kind of the start of it. And when I decided to do something, I'm in 100%.
So you went 6 years ago. When did you actually start it?
So we started planting about 6 years ago.
Wow.
And
So
we
right
started
away.
planting, and I'm sorry, I'm OCD, and this is not turned right. So we planted, you can't see it in the camera, but to the left of us is our Crimson Cab block. That is our reds, and that's an acre of vines. There's 600 vines in that acre. And so we planted that, and then the following year we planted the other block that you pass when you enter the venue. Those are called Blanc du Bois. And so, and we're going to plant about 4 more acres over the coming years. We've got enough room to plant about 4 more acres.
So cool.
But this is all that we can handle right now as a family. Now that we're open for business, doing very well, I'm starting to train help in the vineyard so that when we plant more acreages of grapes to make more estate wines, we've got the assistance we need to manage it well. So I'm a perfectionist, and I wanted people to see that in the vineyard, in the tasting room, in the winery, everywhere they look. I just wanted to recreate what's in Napa.
You did.
Thank you.
You've been to Napa, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you like wine and you've never been to Napa, get your ass on a plane and go.
So I
It
dated
is
a guy
amazing.
from Hillsburg, which is in like Santa Rosa, right
Oh, okay.
below Napa, and
Yeah.
he had friends that had vineyards, and they were like organic vineyards, and we would
Oh, wow.
just go out and drink grape from them.
Well,
the
you
grapes.
mentioned
Right?
you get it right from the grapes.
Yeah.
How many bottles can you get out of an acre of grapes?
So it takes about 5 to 6 years for a vine to mature to a point to where it's maximized its yield for each year.
Wow.
And this year, I think this is going to be the biggest harvest we've ever had for the Crimson Cab. Last year, we harvested, you get about 160 gallons per ton of grapes. And so each 160 gallons, you multiply that times 5, because you get 5 bottles per gallon. That's about 800 bottles per ton.
Wow.
So last year, we harvested a little over 2 tons. So we ended up with about 1,600 bottles of red
For your estate wine, yeah.
for our estate wine. And that's actually a lot of bottles for an
a
acre.
lot.
Like, it's way more than most people. It was way more than I thought
Expected.
you would get when I was
Yeah.
talking to Bruce.
Yeah.
And so to give you understanding of how different varietals produce differently, so that was for our Crimson Cab. Our Blanc du Bois, our white, produces way more. So that's 1 year behind the reds. And last year we ended up with we ended up with like 4.5 tons. So that's about 3,600 bottles of wine.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, different varietals produce different amounts of clusters. Some varietals have big clusters, some have small. The berries on the clusters, some are big, some are small. It just, and then year to year, because we've been hit by frost in the past, that will kill the buds, and each vine has a primary, secondary, and tertiary bud. Well, the primaries come out first. If they get killed by frost, then the secondary will come out, but secondary and tertiary shoots typically aren't as fruitful. So frost can be very devastating to the vineyard. You will lose a major amount of fruit if you get hit by frost.
It doesn't happen that often in Georgia, though, does it?
Mm-hmm.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you hear it with down in the south with peach growers and
Blueberries got
blueberries
hit last year real hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a real struggle, and that's just one facet of the business.
Yeah.
We're really running 3 businesses here. We're running a vineyard, we're running a winery, and we're running a tasting room.
Right.
And I have to have a staff for each.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, definitely.
So, Georgia is, I never thought of Georgia as a wine growing state, but we've got a ton of wineries in the state, a ton of vineyards. And,
we're well over. So I serve on the board of Georgia Wine Producers, and the last stat that I remember from earlier this year, we're well over 100 vineyards, and I want to say we're around 60 or so wineries.
Really?
So some people are just growing and selling grapes.
Some are, there's different business models, Some just have vineyards, some just have tasting rooms, and some have wineries, some have all 3. And so it's just depending on kind of what the business model is, as to what they have.
Are you the only one out here? Did I miss that?
No.
No, there's actually, it's starting to pop up. We've got one more in county. Some good folks up in North Paulding.
Qualusi,
Qualusi, and you'll see them out here drinking wine. You'll see Jason at their place drinking wine.
Cool. Yeah, support
That's
each
kind
other.
of the cool thing about this industry. We all help each other.
That is cool. That's not very common in most industries.
It's not. It's very pervasive across the entire state. It is. There's so much to know. And we really need more vineyards and wineries to start creating more wine trails across the state.
Yeah.
That it's really in our best interest to help new vineyards and wineries get established.
There was a new vineyard and winery that opened out here in Polk County just a couple weekends ago, and I noticed that all the Georgia winery and vineyard pages that I follow on social media all were promoting that opening.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's
and
good.
So West Georgia, you were telling me before, West Georgia actually has a pretty rich winemaking history.
It does. There was, back in the late 1800s, there was a Hungarian colony just west of here. Let's see, I was trying to remember what the community was called. It's out in Tallapoosa, actually, was where it's located, but there was a Little Hungary, I think is what they called it. So it was a group of coal miners from Pennsylvania that were convinced to come down. And if they came down to plant a vineyard, they were given, I want to say about 10 acres. It was either 5 or 10 acres. And then they would help each other plant the vineyards and just get them established. And they were producing wine like for the entire eastern seaboard in the late 1800s, and were doing very well. And then, lo and behold, good old Prohibition came, and of course that devastated them. They had about 5,000 acres of grapes planted. Like, that's how much.
God.
Wow.
So they dug up the vines, burnt them.
The government did that, right?
The government, yeah.
Goodness.
Some of them went back to Pennsylvania find some semblance of a life back in the coal mines. Some stayed, but there's Little Budapest. It wasn't Little Hungary, Little Budapest. But there's a graveyard still over in Tallapoosa. It's a Hungarian graveyard of those people that lived here, and you can go visit it right now. So it was a thriving industry until Prohibition came, and unfortunately it turned their lives upside down. And then that history and that knowledge was lost for decades until the late 70s, early 80s.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
But now we're back.
Yeah, we're back with the force. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize, they don't really think about it. I didn't until I really got into this industry. But Georgia was founded. The English justified founding Georgia as the 13th colony because they thought that they could plant wine grapes here and compete with France and Italy and other European countries, as well as silk. So Canton got its name from Cantonese because they were trying to plant a lot of silk there. So before wine on the West Coast, it was all on the East Coast. That's where it all started because the original 13 colonies, and it all started on the East Coast. And then it's made its way through Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Arizona, California, and then Oregon and Washington State. So, yeah, it's a cool history to kind of relearn that few people know about.
Cool.
So what's been the hardest part of this so far?
Capital. Yeah, this is an incredibly capital-intensive business to start. We were very blessed. We had invested in some land back in the big downturn during the Great Recession. And so we had been saving our money up. We had that and basically sold that land and liquidated it as we needed as we were building this place out over several years. And I tell people it's like we landed the plane on fumes. I mean, we really did. It's like when we opened our doors for business, it's like, well, we don't have any more money left, so I'm glad we were able to at least open the doors. But we ended up filling a huge void that we really didn't realize was in this area. A place for a really classy and upscale place that's a family-friendly venue. That's not a bar scene, but it's just a relaxing place where classy people, but they're laid back and relaxed. Right?
Yeah.
In a beautiful setting in nature. And when we opened was right when it was towards the tail end of at least the first phase of COVID, and people were getting their vaccines. They had been cooped up for over a year, and they wanted to get out. So it was actually a perfect time to open, which was April of 2021. So.
And it really is beautiful here. I mean, that description is exactly what you feel here.
Yeah, you'll see on the weekends, you'll see the families out here and the kids playing, running between the vines and stuff, and sitting around the fire pits in the evenings. It's neat.
Yeah.
So capital was the number one big challenge. The second one is definitely learning how to make excellent wine.
Yeah, there's a lot of wineries around here, but I can't say there's a ton of great wineries in Georgia. They're getting there, but
they're getting there. We're helping each other. The two smartest things that I did was I hired a winemaking consultant to teach me the science and chemistry behind winemaking. I hired Denise Gardner out of Pennsylvania. She had has a degree in enology. She consults with other small wineries like ourselves, but also she's got some large clients in Napa too. So she really knows her stuff, and over almost 6 years, she's prepared me. I feel we talk. We have a meeting every 2 weeks, and we sync up on all of our wines. But I go to the meeting fully prepped and excited that I have all our stuff together, and I'm not behind the 8 ball. And I've been very blessed to have another person join me in the winery who's my winemaking assistant. That's Diane, and she worked at several wineries around Nashville area. She has a degree in enology, and she really helped me step my game up.
So how does one go about finding a Diane?
I was living right. Diane literally bought a house about 1.5 miles away from the vineyard and winery.
That's amazing.
And she saw the vines, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to stop!" And literally, that's how it started. So
Great.
she's a great addition. And then another difficult aspect about this industry is knowing what you need to know about the vineyard. So I hired a viticulturist. I hired Fritz Westover from Westover Viticulture Research.
Guy named Fritz. He's got to know how to plant vines.
Oh, yeah. No, he's great.
Where's he from?
He's out of Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, and he has had his influence on, I would probably say, 99% of all the vineyards in Georgia. He comes out 3 times a year to visit the vineyard when we're pruning in late winter, early spring, and then around or just before bud break, and then when it's closer to harvest time. So he's helping. He's going out looking at the vineyard, and he's got an assistant now, Rachel, who lives in Cartersville, so
nice.
She can come down and help out when we've got questions, which is really nice. But there's just so much to know about the vineyard and the winery that I had to hire somebody that you can't just Google it. You can't just read books and do a good job. You have to have people that know
what they're doing,
to guide you. And still, I mean, I'm at 6 years into this, and I'm just now starting to feel kind of comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's 6 years into this, and then how many medals have you won so far?
I don't know. I think maybe 10 or 11, something like that.
So we were talking, I'm going to get a little personal. We were talking right before we started, and his wife has been homeschooling their kids, and so they help out.
They do. My son cuts all the grass. He has shown interest in winemaking, so
cool.
95% of winemaking is cleaning. So I started him at the ground, and he's been in the tanks,
right,
cleaning and sanitizing tanks and equipment and all that. And it's like, this is where you have to start, son.
His son is a sponge.
What other better way to learn about like science and nature and life and business owning and economy and like,
so
gosh,
the
so
reason
cool.
we bought this property 10 years ago was not to have a winery. It wasn't even a thought in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was because I grew up on a farm in Cumming, Georgia.
Okay.
And you learn things on farms you don't learn anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And I wanted my kids to experience that. You experience life and death of animals and like nature, and now it's turned into this, and like
This is like the best schooling ever.
Yeah.
I want to come to school here. I might drink all the product.
She's going to get a permanent dunce hat.
They're going to sit me in the corner the whole time. Stay away from the wine, Melissa.
But all of my kids have really been sponges. My oldest daughter, Emma, she listens to me as I give tours. She listens to me in the tasting room as I walk people through wines and just share our passion. And then now she's probably my top salesman behind the bar because
How old is
she lived it. She's 19.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
And then my middle daughter, Claire, she helps greatly in the kitchen. My son works in the kitchen too, washing dishes. My wife handles all the social media. So it's definitely a family business, and they recognize the amount of work that's gone into this. And the cool thing about it is we started with nothing but an idea, and they've seen us and helped us and experience building a business from nothing, which is a very valuable thing to know how to do.
There's a mural in the back of the tasting room of all these pictures from when they started to just recently, and it's pretty cool to see. And I know that you lost your dad last year, but I know you've talked several times to me about how awesome it was to work this whole project with him and planting the vines and starting everything and being able to do that with his dad. And so it was more than just the family. Now it was some of his other family, and it's a really cool place.
It is.
We've had a lot of family and friends, really support us in this venture. A cool thing to note is 3/4 of the vines we have planted here were planted by children.
Oh.
And so when we went to plant, we had a lot of friends who have a lot of kids. So they brought the kids. And I took time and showed them how to properly plant and then supervised them and kind of went behind them and tweaked them, showed them. And they loved it. And then they come back now and
they
like
get
see
to
the fruits
see
of
that.
So
it's really cool.
last year during harvest,
Tell us next time you're doing that.
My youngest daughter was home visiting, and I said, "Hey, do you want to go out? Want to go out to Three Strands, and we'll go pick. We're picking Blanc de Bois, the white grapes." And I said, "You want to go out and pick grapes today?" "Oh yeah." So she called a friend of hers who wanted to come with us, and we all came out here and picked grapes. And my wife's like, "You don't go like get excited and go work out in our yard." And I'm like, "That's because nothing I do in our yard is going to turn into alcohol."
Correct. Come on now.
But it's fun because during harvest, all these people from around the community, they want to come and pick grapes for the experience. And Jason's like, "Come and pick grapes. It's free labor."
Exactly.
Yes. Tell me next time.
But it is a lot of fun. And so you've not had fun until you stick your hand in the vines, grab a bunch of grapes, pull them out, and there's these drunk honeybees.
No.
And they just get mad and buzz at you. I mean, all of us, none of us got stung. I'm not saying you won't get stung.
Okay.
You could get stung.
You could get stung, but they're so drunk.
Stop
they
it.
fall in
They
their
really are?
Boom, right on the ground.
What?
Because some of the grapes will get are either have what they call sour. What do they call sour rot?
Sour rot.
Yeah, or they just
A few
grapes
of the
that got a
berries
little ripe.
within the cluster will get sour rot, so they burrow in there and they start drinking it, and they just get drunk as a skunk.
Wasted bees. Oh my, that's pretty cool.
Where do you think buzz comes from?
Right?
So it's a neat place.
But it's very rewarding. It's so hard, but it's very rewarding to go through all of that labor to be able to make a product that people enjoy.
People enjoy this product?
That's what
I don't
they tell
believe
me.
you. I
That's
think
what
you
they
need
tell
to
me.
prove
Can
it.
Oh, you need- do I need
can
to
we
prove it?
please enjoy
Yeah,
some?
absolutely.
Let's do it.
So I'll go over what I have here this afternoon. I've got two of our new fruit wines. We've put about 9 months of development into these fruit wines, and we're getting pretty good at it. We're getting pretty good at winemaking in general. So the nice thing about fruit wines is I'm able to make those in about a 2-month period. And so I wanted to do something different. We love blueberry and strawberry and blackberry wines and all that stuff, but I wanted to do something a little unique. So I came up with 2 fruit wines. One is a pineapple coconut, which I call Trainwreck.
Yum.
It's very smooth, very good, very balanced blend of pineapple and coconut. Think pina colada when you drink it.
Okay.
And then I did a coconut lime fruit wine called The Girl from Ipanema. For those of you who don't know, I name most of my wines after Sinatra and Rat Pack songs. So The Girl from Ipanema is a song that Dean Martin sings that I absolutely love. And so that's where some of the names come from. Trainwreck came from a friend of mine who was telling me that I should name my wines after historical events in the county, and I'm like, you know what? That's actually a great idea.
That's a great idea.
And he's like, you know what? Like 2 miles that way, there was a big train wreck in the early 1900s. He's like, how about Trainwreck? And I'm like, that is a perfect
That
name.
works.
So yeah.
You've got one more fruit wine coming soon too.
I do. I'm working on a peach mango, and that's called Take My Money.
Yeah.
Because it's really good, and I think people are just going to be like, I don't care what it
Taking
costs.
all
Just
the
take my money,
bottles.
just give me a
Yes.
bottle of it.
You're going to sell out.
Yeah. So we have those 2. I just bottled a Pinot Noir Rosé, which is getting really, really good reviews. And then
What's the
we
name of
have,
that one?
Yep, thank you. Yeah. That's called Luck Be a Lady, another Sinatra Rat Pack song.
Love it.
And then I have Body and Soul, which is a
Ooh.
Tiraldigo varietal. That's an Italian varietal. It has a lot of red fruit flavors in it, and it's very thick and chewy.
I think this is my favorite of his new wines right now.
It is
What do you-
good. It is good.
That's the name of it, Tarag?
That's the name of the vine itself.
Okay.
So like Cabernet Sauvignon,
Yes.
Merlot, etc.
Okay.
It's Tiraldigo. The name of it's Body and Soul because
Okay.
it's just got a lot of good body and soul. Again, a Sinatra song. And then the last wine that I have is called Just in Time. This is our estate Crimson Cabernet, which are our reds. And this was bottled about 3 weeks ago. So this is our 2022 vintage.
Okay.
But I'm not making it available yet because I want to bottle age it for a little while. It's still kind of young.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll go through them.
So I want to plug the 2021 vintage. Did pretty good.
Is
Yep.
that the one you helped bottle?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
that's why
but
he's bringing it up.
No,
I
it's
know.
not. I was not
It
even. I
always
was
has to be
not
about
even.
Doug.
I was not even going to
Always
say
about
it.
Doug.
I was not even going to say it. Jake did most of
I
it.
was about to say, let's just go ahead and get it on the table. Jake and Doug helped bottle this wine.
There we
That's
go.
probably why it
Great.
won Best Red Vinifera.
Definitely the reason why.
Yeah.
Because
best,
Doug and
best
Jake.
red hybrid in Georgia last year. So
Yeah.
Definitely all because
Did
you
you hear
bottled
that?
it.
Best in Georgia.
Yeah.
The whole damn
I
state.
believe that.
And it wasn't because of Jake and I, but
I know.
that helped. It
I
pushed
know.
it over the finish line.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and try
Exciting.
these. We'll
Okay.
start with the train wreck. So one of the things that we've tried to do since we opened is have a really good selection of wine for all customers, because some customers love dry, some customers love sweet, some customers love red, some customers love rosé, some customers love whites. It's all, they all differ. So we try to have something for everyone. So what I was shooting for here with Trainwreck, this pineapple coconut wine, is for the sweet wine lovers. The dry reds, dry white wine lovers probably won't like it, but it has a really nice aroma. Some people immediately pick out the coconut. Some people immediately pick out the pineapple. It depends on your olfactory senses. But like I said, we spent about 9 months developing this and tweaking the fermentation protocols to make a great wine. And these two, along with the peach mango, is what we're going to start doing some distribution in this year.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so if you live within a couple county radius of here, sometime in the next few weeks, you may start seeing these pop up at local liquor stores.
This definitely tastes like a pina colada.
Yeah, you like it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
You
really
like
is
getting caught in the rain?
I do.
Exactly.
Especially in my Jeep.
Hey, Kristen,
Want to come grab?
come to snatch a
Taste?
bottle
Yeah, absolutely.
as she jumps in front of the camera. Oh, save those glasses for us. I took them some over
Give
there.
me that
I'll
glass
trade.
back. Yeah.
There you go.
Ooh, almost knocked the thing over.
Anybody else that's watching want a glass of this?
You want to try? Do you
Bring them over.
watch the cord?
Yeah, watch the cord, watch
We got
the
an
camera.
entourage with us today, so
I
Yeah, it's
should've-
amazing
with
what
it.
happens when
I'm
you.
sorry, I should have given
When you go to a
guys some drop
vineyard.
cords.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing when you say you're going to record at a vineyard, how many people show up
Oh,
to
right.
watch you do it.
They don't care about our podcast until today.
So
Jerks.
while we're on these wines, one of the things I want to talk about is bottle shock.
Okay.
So one thing most people don't realize is during the winemaking process, you're pumping wine from tanks to tanks to do what's called racking, which clarifies the wine. So after fermentation is complete, you settle the wine, so a lot of the sediment falls to the bottom. You then pump out the wine, leaving the sediment behind. That's a clarification step. So you do that a couple times, but at some point you go through filtration and just pumping the wine, pumping it through the filters, going through the bottling line. It rips the molecules of the wine apart. So when I decide a wine is ready to bottle, it's in the tank and it's been sitting there for a while, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, I want to bottle it. We go through, to bottle it, you got to pump it, you've got to filter it, and you've got to prepare it for bottling, and then go through the bottling line. Well, because that rips the molecules apart, as soon as it's bottled, it doesn't taste like the wine that I tasted in the tank. So we always keep our wines at least 2 weeks before we make them available to the public, because that gives time for the molecules to come back together and cohere back into the wine that it was in the tank.
Wow.
Really, you should probably leave it for about a month, but I typically get really excited about my wines and I want people to enjoy them, so I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah.
But just this train wreck has changed a lot in the few weeks since we've bottled it. Honestly, it's 13.2% ABV, which is pretty high for wine.
Yeah. What's the average? What's like the norm?
12s.
Okay.
Yeah, usually 12s. Because I'm so maniacal with the quality of my wine, the next fermentation, I'm probably going to keep it down in the 12s.
Okay.
Because I really taste the alcohol in this wine.
You do.
You do.
Yeah.
But tasting this wine, and I got, I was lucky enough that I tasted this wine when he was doing the research, doing his research and development on it. Tasted it in the tanks, and then tasted it when he first bottled it. And from when he first bottled it and started selling it a few weeks ago to now, and I don't know if this makes sense or not, but when I first tasted it, it was all about the fruit. And to me, it tastes a little bit more like wine now than it did just the fruit in your face fruit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Why? How come you get to be up here so much, tasting and doing all this stuff? What are you doing?
These things happen.
Whatever. You never invite me. I'm gonna move to Paulding. Never.
I don't think Paulding's ready for you.
No, they'd kick me out so fast.
So what else did you bring?
So next, let's try Luck Be a Lady. This is our Pinot Noir Rosé. So the ABV on this is 11.9, so it's even below 12.
Okay.
For my rosés, this is my second rosé. The last one we had was just tremendous. It kind of tasted like a strawberry Jolly Rancher, drinking a strawberry Jolly Rancher. So when I made that wine, I added a very, very small amount of sugar because my strategy for this is I wanted dry wine lovers to like it. I'm going to stay up close to that mic.
Yes, stay.
And I wanted sweet wine lovers to like it.
Okay.
So I did the same exact thing with this wine. I added 0.5% of sugar, which is a very, very small amount. And it was just enough to, really expose and promote a lot of the flavors that are in the wine to begin with. It really accentuates it. So really proud of this. We've gotten a lot of really good reviews over the last couple of weeks since we've made it available.
Okay.
We'll get you a clean glass here.
What? Explain what a rosé is.
So a rosé is so there's two types of two types of wine. One is a rosé, one is a blush. A rosé is made from red grapes, and usually, would you ladies like some? So let me back up a minute. So when you make a red wine, you go through and you crush the berries and you ferment the wine on the grape skins.
Okay.
And when you do that, the juice in the red berries is actually white. But as you ferment on the skins, it macerates and it extracts the colors out of the red skins.
Okay.
So red wine gets this red color from the skins.
Okay.
For a rosé, you go through and crush, destem the grapes, and you're leaving the wine on the skins for a very limited amount of time.
Okay.
That amount of time differs depending on the varietal, because some wine skins will extract more colors faster than others.
Okay.
So the winemaker has to, do some tests and understand, beforehand how long he wants to let the skins touch the wine.
Okay.
But that's where it gets this red color, but it's pale, obviously. And then all rosés have different color ranges. Some are pink, some are a little off orange, some are ruby.
Yeah.
It just depends on the
Is this one
winemaker.
considered ruby?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is that
I
color.
usually feel like rosés are more pink.
Yeah. So this is I call it an off dry. So it's not a full dry because I added 0.5% of sugar back.
Okay.
But it's again just enough to accentuate the flavors, and has a really
Smells
nice.
What I like
Aroma.
about this rosé is a lot of rosés are
Oh
weak.
my God, that's
They don't have a
delicious.
ton of flavor, and there's a lot going on. It's light, but it's got a lot of flavor.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
Like-
rich.
Can you call it like light, full-bodied or
Yeah.
something?
it kind of is. Kind of a maybe a medium bodied.
Okay.
Yeah, it's between a light and medium bodied.
Yeah. That's delicious.
Thank you.
It's like a
Thank you.
poolside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking one of these for this weekend. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy a case. That's fine.
That sounds great.
Okay. I know. It does.
So
Yum.
yeah, rosés are great for summertime.
Real quick, do you have a wine membership?
We do. We have a really cool wine club. So, and it's really grown over the past 6 months. So, wine club right now is free to join.
Okay.
When you join, you get 10% off everything, every visit. And we have a 3, 6, and 12 bottle club.
Okay.
And so basically what you're committing to is 1 year in either a 3, 6, or 12, you choose. And we do releases quarterly. So I'm trying to get new wines out quarterly.
Okay.
And it's been really cool. We're starting to have some really awesome wine club dinners. Doug actually helped me with one last year where he cooked and smoked some ribs, which were the best ribs I've ever had in my entire life.
'Cause,
Literally. I'm not just saying that because Doug's sitting here. They were literally that good.
he did
And
win a barbecue something, didn't you?
I've done well with them, but I will say this, that and Joseph, his son, was with me the whole day. Again, he's a sponge, soaking up everything about it. That was the best batch of ribs I've ever made. I mean, it was everything lined up that day, and they just
Yum.
came out. That was
I
the
missed
best
that
batch I've
one.
ever made, and it was, they were good. And the ladies in the
Kitchen.
cafe here, they did the sides, and they knocked it out of the park. They just did a great job.
When's the next one?
And we'll get into that in a minute too.
Okay.
We've got a great menu out
Yes,
here,
yes.
and we can touch on that in a minute. But so we started out. That was our first big wine club dinner, and it was a huge success. And since then, we've had various wine club parties, and the girls kind of challenge themselves in the cafe on hors d'oeuvres and stuff. I mean, they
Cool.
really keep stepping up their game. So we'll have, in fact, I think it's next week, we're having a wine club
shoot.
party to introduce the new members. And kind of what's funny, the dynamics of the wine club is like, because we've had enough events now, like people at the wine club are good friends. So when they come out to the winery, they see each other and they hang out, and now they're kind of doing things together. So this next wine club event, I'm pretty sure it's next week, is to introduce the new wine club members.
Is it on a Friday
It's
night?
Thursday night,
It's Thursday.
and I'll be here.
Yeah, you're a new
Because
wine club member.
I finally joined.
Yeah,
Did
exactly.
you? I'm
So the different levels of commitment is great for people who are in other wine clubs, because I am in other wine clubs, and the bottles are always coming in.
Yeah.
And being able to join a club, and I only had to commit to 3 bottles a quarter.
Yeah.
You know, because it does get tough drinking all the wine that
I
comes
don't
in.
know
You're
if I'd
handing it
have
out,
any
giving
problem
away.
with that. And you have a million girls to share
Return my calls, Michelle, and then maybe I'll.
Oh. Are you shipping? Do you ship it?
We don't yet. I
Not
did
yet.
get my shipping license.
Okay.
And I like to do things very well before I move on to
Good.
like next big things.
Sure.
So I did secure my license,
Okay.
and we've got it wired through Vino Shipper to turn it on.
Okay.
But we wanted to get wine club established, and most of the people that are in the wine club, just about 100%, are all local. So it actually saves them money. We have
Yeah.
pickup parties.
Yeah.
So when we do a release, we email them ahead of time. Hey, we're going to have a pickup party, and they could come in that day or a couple days later and pick it up.
Fun.
And that way it saves on shipping. Shipping is very expensive these
It
days.
is. It is so
that's
expensive.
I kind of backed off of pursuing shipping for the moment because our wine club members are local, and it's like, why charge them,
Yeah.
$30 or $40 to ship something a couple of miles?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Doug, you could pick up mine and just bring them Wednesday mornings for me,
I
please.
may drink it before you get
You
it.
better
though.
not. All right. What do we have next?
So we need some more glasses. Actually, I'm just going to
Yeah.
commit a cardinal sin.
Oh yeah, what is?
Actually, that's not a cardinal sin
No.
because sommeliers
You
do
could
it all the
probably
time.
drink
Yeah.
it, right?
Otherwise they would get
I'm-
drunk all the time
Yeah.
from drinking too much wine. So the next wine is called Body and Soul. This is the Tyrol to go. This wine is a very thick wine. When you swirl it around in the glass, it leaves a purple film. When you drink it, your lips are going to turn purple and your teeth are going to turn purple.
Oh boy.
However, it is really chewy. It has some really nice, come on up, ladies. It has some really nice red fruit flavors and aromas to it. And it is just a really good wine. Not super, it has some tannins. It's not super high in tannins.
Tell what about
but it's
tannins?
more of a medium-bodied
People
wine.
that don't know what tannins are.
Sure. So when you drink a wine, sorry, I want to concentrate so I don't spill it.
Yeah.
And you get that dry mouth feel. That's what tannins are doing.
Is that what gives you a headache?
No,
Okay.
Sulfites give you the headache.
Okay.
maybe that and histamines and
Okay.
other stuff.
Okay.
So, so you've got light-bodied wines, you've got medium-bodied wines, you've got full-bodied wines. Full-bodied wines are typically really high in acids,
Okay.
really high in tannins, and they're really bold.
Would that be like a Cabernet?
It could be a Cabernet.
Okay.
Merlots are typically
Okay.
pretty full-bodied wines.
Merlots, okay.
Yeah. So this has some tannins. Almost all red wines have tannins. You get tannins from grape skins,
Okay.
and you can also impart tannins through oaking, so it extracts it from the barrels. So depending on how the wine was made, it'll have more or less tannins. But this is I would not classify this as a bold wine. This is a medium-bodied wine. Nice acids, not super high, but man, just
Yeah, I classify this as a delicious wine.
delicious wine. Exactly.
try that.
Yeah, this is one of the best reds I've ever had. It's very good. Yeah, I wish you could see the ladies' faces. They're like,
Yeah,
"That's delicious."
it is. It is. Can you tell? So we found out that whiskey has legs,
Yep.
just like wine.
Yep.
And is that what's telling you how much tannins in it? I forget what the legs mean.
The legs of a wine typically indicate to some extent the alcohol
Okay.
in it.
Okay. Not necessarily the tannins.
But I've taken some wines high in alcohol and swirled them around and didn't really get many legs, and I've taken wines lower in alcohol and swirled it around and got legs. So I'll be real honest, I'm not sure.
Really?
It's just fun.
Exactly.
It's just fun to say legs. And,
Yeah.
Legs and tannins and
Yeah.
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 Okay. This is delicious. I'm taking one of these bottles as well.
Yeah, this is just, man, it's just, I can't say enough
So
good things
good.
about
Yeah,
it.
this
Is this what you were
fabulous.
drinking earlier, Kristen? Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah, this is the one I said of all the new ones. This is my favorite.
One of my favorite wines is Tempranillo.
Oh, I love Tempranillo.
I
That's
love
one of my favorite
Tempranillo.
ones.
So what's the name of this one again? Not the
Tyrol to go.
Tyrol to go. And it's from Italy. Okay.
This grape was from Lodi. So this would be something good to talk about. So we've been growing pretty fast in the 2 years we've been open. We're making wine for other vineyards and tasting rooms.
Oh, cool.
And because of that, our production has gone way up.
Cool.
As of now, this year, we're over, I want to say about 53,000 bottles of wine that we've produced and made. So to be able to scale to that, I had to hire a bottling truck.
Oh, this thing's so cool.
It's
too.
actually a trailer, but yeah, they pull up, hook to our tanks, and we're loading bottles onto the conveyor belt as fast as we're pulling them off and
Wow.
casing them. They can do about 2,000 bottles an hour. So 3 weeks ago, one day we bottled about 10,000 bottles, and the next day we bottled just under 7,000 bottles
Wow.
in about 6 hours.
What?
So, the company that is the bottling truck is Currahee Vineyards. They're a great crew. I mean, I love them to death. They're amazing. They're very humble. They're very professional. They're
Are
easygoing.
they from up by Toccoa?
They are. They're up in Toccoa. Yeah. And so they've been investing in some vineyards out in Lodi, California. To be quite honest, there are not enough grapes in Georgia. There's just not. So they're a good source to bring in fruit now to make
The
wines like
Tempranillos
this.
or like this.
Or whatever they bring in. Whatever.
Can you make Tempranillos if they bring it in?
Oh, yeah. If I get the fruit, I can make wine out of any fruit. Yep. Cool. Exactly. Another wine that I love is a Montepulciano.
Oh, I haven't had that.
I like it because it's fun to say. But it's a really good Italian wine, too.
Okay.
I recommend you start saying that wine at the beginning of the evening. Because
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then they're like,
Yeah.
what are you saying?
It's like, yeah, Montepulciano. It's like,
I think that's why I like Tempranillo.
Yeah.
But also it tastes just like, it has like a smoky taste most of the time. Or like a
Sometimes.
pepper.
So that depends on what oak
Okay.
and what, I'm drawing a blank, what char
Okay.
the oak was placed under.
Oh, okay.
So-
yeah, because I've had some that taste way different than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are three main oaks that you can oak a wine with, French, American, and Hungarian. American's the cheapest, French is next most affordable, and then Hungarian's typically the most expensive. I like to use French oak for my reds because it typically imparts some spicy notes into the wine. So for my reds, I really like some nice spicy aromas and flavors in it, in addition to just the natural flavors that are in the wine. And I also like smoky tobacco-y flavors imparted into the wine. Very subtle.
Yes.
Not like you're smoking a cigar, or
Right.
not like you're drinking a barrel of wood.
Right.
That's the balance that the winemaker puts into the wine by, unfortunately having every week to taste it and see where it is. But if it's oaked properly, it's very well balanced. It's very subtle on the aromas and on the flavors. But to get that tobacco-y, smoky flavors, I go with a heavy toast
Okay.
on the oak.
Okay.
And
interesting.
sometimes I mix untoasted, which they call barrelhead oak, with toasted. So untoasted oak tends to impart some vanilla flavors into the
Yum.
wine, whereas the toasted imparts the tobacco-y flavors and other flavors too. You've got different toast levels. You have no toast, you've got medium, you've got heavy. So the winemaker is able to choose those different levels depending on what he's wanting to do with the wine ultimately.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we got any more?
We've got one last
lush.
one.
What's your favorite type of wine, Doug?
What we just drank.
For sure. Yeah. It's delicious.
No, I like.
It really is.
I like reds. I don't like super dry
Yeah.
reds. I love Pinot Noir for an everyday drinker. I like cabs. If there's a couple of petite Verdeaux that I really like, they're good with cigar.
Yeah.
And I like to smoke a cigar.
We like the cigars. We
But,
do. And I like my red wine with cigars.
This this one is getting better each time I try it. The one he's getting ready to do, and this is the one that won the medals last year, and I really did enjoy that one.
The one we just had, did that win a medal?
We just released this about a month and a half ago,
This
so
is
I haven't
definitely
submitted it
winning a
for
medal.
competition yet.
It is.
I think so.
For sure.
So this next wine is called Just in Time. This is our estate red. And so when we planted the vineyard, I like to be different than everybody else. So I could have said, all right, I'm going to plant Norton, or I'm going to plant Lenoir, which is the typical red grape that you find planted in Georgia, or at least in West Georgia. But I wanted to be different, and there was this varietal called Crimson Cabernet that was available. And it's a hybrid. It's a cross between Cabernet Sauvignon and Norton. So you get a lot of the cab flavors, but you get the disease tolerancy of the Norton grape, which has some Native American qualities to it. And so I was one of 2 people in Georgia that even had this, and one of about, I think, 3 people in all of the Southeast that had the vine. But I'm glad I took the risk because it's making some really good red wine. I can pour it while I talk.
Mm-hmm.
So
You can do that.
so I've had some challenges with this wine. And it'll be kind of fun to talk through them here because it just kind of becomes the whole wine. It makes the winemaking process very real, I think, to people. So,
Ladies are coming.
oh, sorry, yeah, come on up. Fill your glass up.
He's the Pied Piper.
So, I'll talk first about harvest. So, when harvest time comes, what am I looking at to know when to harvest? I'm looking at pH. I'm looking at the acids in the grape. I'm looking at the color of the seeds, the taste. There are a number of variables that I'm looking. I'm looking at the bricks, which is the content of the sugar content of the grape. Mm-hmm. And so typically when we harvest this, we harvest it around 22 to 23 bricks, which is the sugar level. And I really try to push it until the beginning of October because I want the acids to come down. So once we harvest and get it into the winery, I'll kick off fermentation. And what I've learned over the last 3 years making this wine is when we harvest, the pH is around 3.4, 3.5, which is a good pH to be at. It goes through primary fermentation, which means it converts all of the sugar in the wine, which is measured in bricks, into alcohol. Well, I also run all my reds through a subsequent fermentation called malolactic fermentation. And what that does is it converts the malic acids into lactic acids. And so what that means is it just gives the wine a better mouthfeel. It rounds out the mouthfeel. And to run it through malolactic fermentation, you use bacteria. The bacteria is really expensive. For like a huge tank of wine, the bacteria looks like little balls of styrofoam that fit in your hand, and it's like, $400 worth.
No, shoot.
Yeah. So you kick off malolactic fermentation. Well, it's pretty slow. It usually takes about a month. So what's happening is it goes through primary. The pH stays around 3.5, but I'm noticing that I have a really bad potassium uptake in the vineyard into the clusters. And what happens is when it goes through malolactic fermentation, the pH goes through the roof. It goes up to like 4.1, 4.2. So why is that important? It's important because of microbial stability of the wine. The higher the pH, the less microbial stability you have in the wine. Once you get past 3.7, you start having to jump through some special hoops to make sure you're maintaining that microbial stability.
Interesting.
So what I've been doing, I've been working with a group called Crucible Ag. I'm using their foliar liquid fertilizers the last couple of years. And they've been coming out taking petiole samples, leaf samples in the vineyard throughout the growing season to measure that potassium and then make amendments to get that potassium out so that when we start primary fermentation, we don't start with as much potassium. So the potassium is what's making the pH go through the roof.
Interesting.
So that's some of the challenges we're working through, and you got to do it year over year, and you have to measure, and you have to, it just takes a while to work through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's some of the challenges in making this wine is because the pH, and I did some things in the winery to lower the pH. This ended up, I think, around 3.9. My goal this year is to get it back down to 3.7.
So where did you get the name Just in Time?
Oh man, that was through stress. So it's another Sinatra song. However, the reason I named it Just in Time is because 3 weeks before we opened, I had a kidney stone, and I'm prone to getting kidney stones, unfortunately. And so 3 weeks before we opened, I still hadn't bottled, And so I had to go to the hospital. I'm sitting in my recliner, kind of recuperating, and I'm like, all right, I've got to go through and do my final SO2 calculations, and went through it and made a mistake. I was able to fix it. But anyway, because of all that happening, like, I got that bottle just in time.
Just in time.
About a week before we opened.
Wow.
And it really still didn't have time to go through full bottle shock.
And this one,
But that's why I chose that name.
that's a great name.
Yeah.
And a great story why. And this one won a medal.
It did. I got a gold medal and best red hybrid in Georgia last year.
Am I wrong to say I taste like a little bit of floral? Am I tasting?
It differs. It differs for everyone.
Yeah.
But so I aged
You're
this. I aged this on heavy toasted French oak because I wanted the spicy flavors.
Yeah.
I wanted the smoky tobacco-y flavors. This is still going through bottle shock, but you should.
Because this is your
taste
newest one.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You should get some spicy notes from it.
Yeah. Okay, let
And I
me
need
try
to taste
again.
it because
You taste a little floral? You smell the pepper?
pepper. Yeah, exactly.
I smell sugar, but I don't taste sugar.
Yeah, there's no sugar in it.
I taste pepper.
So when you choose the malolactic bacteria,
Yeah.
that also can impart flavors. So Chardonnays typically have a buttery flavor.
I love
That comes because they ran those wines through malolactic fermentation.
Oh.
And so the
interesting.
bacteria that I chose for this, again, has some spicy, peppery notes to it. And so,
I taste that at the end, but then at the beginning I taste like a floral. What do you taste? Don't be looking at me like that.
No, I love all the spice
Give me
and
dirty looks
the
across
spice
the
and the
table.
tobacco and that. I taste all that, but that's
We're about to fight.
I don't even know what she's
Listen,
talking about.
this has been PG this whole time. I just want to fight Doug right now.
so this is a medium-bodied wine. So this is, and I have a lot of people that have come to me in the 2 years we've been open that have drank this wine. They're like, I don't like red wines, but I love this, and here's why. It's because it's a very approachable, medium-bodied wine. They're used to drinking like Merlots that are heavy in tannins, heavy in acids, very bold, and they don't like them. But they're like, yeah, I could drink this with a steak all day,
Definitely.
or a hamburger, or whatever, all day long.
See,
So-
I'm used to Merlots, so I'm like, oh, this tastes so light to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, this is good. I definitely like the first red one we did. My favorite so far.
The body and soul, it's delicious.
Definitely.
This is still young. It just
Okay.
needs some bottle age to it.
Okay.
And it's better to age it in the bottle because it's well protected
Okay.
than in a tank.
Makes sense,
So,
yeah.
So fantastic
cool.
wines. Yeah, this is happening in Paulding County in Georgia.
I know.
It's
It's
crazy.
amazing. It's beautiful out here. Seriously, the whole place is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I like to kind of wrap things up each episode and talk a little bit about kind of how you give back, some of the charities or some of the organizations and that you're involved in. Anything near and dear to your heart these days?
Rotary, certainly.
Yeah.
Rotary is a commitment, but it's a commitment that I love. I love the, not only the camaraderie, but like, the various initiatives throughout the year that we all come together to touch people in the community is certainly near and dear to my heart. One of the biggest, probably the most impactful thing that we've done was handing out the books to the kids in the lunches last year. It's suffice to say that I didn't know children in Paulding County lived in situations like that, and it's sad is not the right word. It's even worse than sad.
Yeah.
And to see their eyes light up when you give them a book, I mean, it was like giving them, $2,000 for Christmas or something. I mean, they're just like, they're so happy to get just this simple book. And so that means the world to me. We support a lot, and it's a hard decision because, but we support a lot of charities each year. We have a lot of charities come to us and ask for support. We're still just kind of getting started, so I can't afford all of them, but we're pretty deliberate about the ones that we do support. and it's kind of part of it. Like the community has supported us, so it's only right to give back and support the community.
Yeah.
And I really just want to do even more from here as best we can, and still, stay afloat.
And
Well-
and Rotary is how Jason and I met. That's how
Yeah.
we became
Yeah.
friends.
Well,
and
and I want to thank you because you guys supported my nonprofit, which
Mm-hmm.
is Healing Our Heroes, and sponsored a wine tasting night.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was so fun. It helped us raise a little bit of money, and we're such a small nonprofit that, like, we don't even know how to go ask companies for money. And so Doug,
So you send Doug.
yeah, I didn't even ask Doug.
She
Doug
had no
did
idea
that.
it was coming.
That was the sweetest thing.
Cool.
And when we pulled up, you have parking spots for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Do you have? Are you a
For-
veteran? Or?
No, for our freedom.
That's right. All right.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's just like law enforcement, firemen,
Yeah.
teachers. They don't make enough. They
Right.
just don't. Like
Yeah.
they're very sacrificial
Absolutely.
with their lives, with their families, with their times. And it's
Yeah.
like, if I can provide 2 spots for veterans, I'm going to do it. And
They get the VIP
absolutely love
spots.
It.
It's
They love
beautiful.
it. Yeah, and I'm happy to do it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Absolutely.
so if people want to find these ridiculously good wines,
Mm-hmm.
where can they find you online, and where can they find them in person?
So, 3strandsvineyard.com is our website. And I would also encourage listeners to follow us on Facebook. It's 3 Strands Vineyard on Facebook, also on Instagram. We have a really strong social presence. My wife does a fabulous job every day of pushing out new content, new events that we have coming up. Wine Club, which is called The Good Life, by the way,
Nice, nice.
which is
That's a
another
great name.
another Sinatra song,
Yeah,
which
so many
I
good
love.
names.
I love. We're sitting in the Sinatra space, by the way, in our
Beautiful.
private event space.
Oh yeah, you didn't mention that. The private event space.
Yeah,
You could rent
yeah,
this space.
You can. It includes inside and outside seating.
Mm-hmm.
Inside, we can seat about 40 very comfortably with food. Outside is about 24 more seats. Actually, no, more about 30 because we've got some stools.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful, classy, executive,
very.
but laid back venue.
Yeah.
And you can see the fireplace, and
It really is
behind us.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
simple, beautiful, classy, all that, what you just said. Absolutely.
We've had everything from birthday parties to a couple weeks ago we had a 50th wedding anniversary. We've had celebrations of life in here. We've had corporate events. Over the past month and a half, we've had it booked at least one time a week, but sometimes twice a week. So most of our advertising, social media, and word of mouth. So it's even though we finished it up a little over a year ago, people are starting to see it, and it's really starting to get rented out, very often. So if you're interested in that, we'd be glad. We've got some really nice trifold pamphlets that outline everything that comes with it, the pricing. So, and I did want to touch on our Vineyard Cafe.
Yes.
It's important for us, when you come here, not only to enjoy great wines and great friends, but also have a great menu to choose from. So we have some just wonderful flatbreads, sandwiches, charcuterie, desserts.
Delicious.
And the ladies in the cafe are just constantly coming up with new menu items. And I'm really proud of what they do. I really want to brag on them because, again, it's all about recreating what we saw in Napa. Mm-hmm. And, we're very fussy about the presentation and everything. Like, when you get it, it's like, wow. Like, it's got the wow factor.
You've done it. Like,
So.
even it's out, like, you wouldn't. I don't come out here very often. And Doug was like, oh, there's people that, like, talk bad about Paulding County. I'm not ever talking bad about it, but I would never expect to find a vineyard as beautiful as yours out here. And you
Thank
have
you.
definitely made a place look like Napa. It feels
you.
like home for me. I'm from California, so it feels like home.
Yeah.
And I want to finish on what your name means because some of us were asking earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Three Strands, the name came from a Bible verse, Ecclesiastes 4:12, and it's basically, to summarize it, is three strands make the strongest cord. So, it's basically a symbol of our faith in God and our belief, like it's our relationship between me and my wife and God. So, we felt that was very suitable. A suitable name, and it rolls off the tongue really nice.
It does.
So yeah, that's how we
beautiful.
came up with it.
Well,
It's
we
beautiful.
can't thank you enough for letting us use the space today and
Anytime.
for being on. And wanted to remind people that if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, whatever, you can reach us at whiskeyafterworkpodcast@gmail.com. If you're following us, let us know. We're going to do a drawing at 100 followers. And we're going to give away a bottle of Blanton's.
Three Strands. I'll donate a bottle of Three Strands.
Okay.
I'll jump on the bandwagon.
All right.
To Melissa. I'm turning 40 August 1st.
So we'll do a double drawing.
Doug.
So we'll do a bottle
Doug.
of Blanton's and we'll do a bottle of Three Strands wine. So send it
He
in.
doesn't want me to say it on.
What?
Doug, for my birthday, I want a membership to Three Strands.
It's free.
No, but I want you to
She wants you
send
to
me
pay for
wine.
the 3-bottle club.
Yeah, the 3-bottle club,
Yeah, okay.
stupid.
I'll think about that. But again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for letting us
No,
use the
thanks
space.
thanks for
and,
having me.
us.
Loved having you guys out. This is great, and I really like seeing where you guys are going with Whiskey After Work. You're killing it. So.
We almost forgot. July 27th, we're
Yes.
doing a Whiskey After Work
Yes.
event, and Jason said
We
we
are.
could do some wine tastings there, and
Beautiful.
and we're going to probably have a local distillery there too. So
Cool.
it should be a good time. It's going to be Winter Street Studios in Square, Marietta. Look on social media in the coming weeks for more information on that. But until the next time, guys, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.